Hey guys, Stealth here. Time for some airborne action. In this gameplay I'm working with a lot of the Rat Pack members, among which Boltsauce, Yuto was on the TeamSpeak, General Incompetence was there, Caro I believe, and Help Me Help You, so we were with the five of us. And with the five of us on TeamSpeak we could coordinate everything. So we knew which player was going to do which sector, covering what area, pushing up together, stuff like that. Now, this might not be a map that's immediately suitable for airborne, but I saw that there were two British armored decks going up against me, and that's when I made the last minute decision to go airborne. Because Challengers are pretty quick off-road, but the rest of the British forces, especially the British tank forces, are not that good. So what I decided to do was go airborne, bring an Mi-28, a Ka-52 and just go hunting, and that's exactly what we're going to see. So it's going to be a deadly combination of these two helicopters, with the Ka-52 spotting and killing off any radar-guided AA, which the British also have a lot of in the form of those marksman versions, and the Mi-28 taking out enemy targets in the form of tanks and vehicles. Now, it's a big wave of units that's starting out here, because we got 1,000 points to start with. So I'm also starting with two groups of BMD-3s packed with VDV-90s, two Strelas and two Ural ZU-23-2, some AA guns. These things end up dying right away simply because they weren't in cover when that huge British wave arrived later on. I got some BTR or BRDM-2 Concourse and some BTRs and a UAZ, which is also going towards Juliet. Now let's push this up. I'm also going to be keeping an eye on what Boltsauce is doing, because he's going full naval. He's not going to use any unit, and his score at the end of the game is going to be very impressive. Now moving out also with a couple of Ka-29 TBs with a couple of reconnaissance units in the form of Spetsnaz VMF. And I'm getting some excellent help here from General Incompetence, so don't let yourself be fooled by that name if you ever come up against him, because this is a pretty damn dangerous player. You can see a bit of a skirmish going on here between Celtics, Recons, or actually the Recon is howling in the back. But the Sokols managed to score quite a few kills. And that starts General Incompetence off at 140 points. But the helicopters that were shot down here probably already dropped off some forces, especially these pirates. So we have some of the French forces out here in the tree line. Right now though, that's not really my problem. I'm just setting up my forces here, keeping my transports a bit closer, because I want to have that rocket pod capability close. I don't want to have to bring them out all the way from the back of the map. This one managed to escape, quote unquote, because I'm usually telling these things to offload and then go back to a safer sector. So my units have arrived, or at least most of them, the fast ones like the BTRs and the Concourse. Strelos are lagging a bit behind, and the BMDs are taking off the side route here. Now when you're facing off against an armored deck in this situation, you can expect the armor to come down the middle, because that's where they have the best lines of fire. You can see that this is unexpectedly the American armor, or at least some American armor. But you can see that the British have also arrived. Challenger marksmen have arrived here. We can see some chieftains coming up. I think that this is a 901. So we got enough units coming up here. And it's even a command chieftain that's been spotted. Now at this point I regretted bringing the Concourse. The Concourse of course need a much bigger range. And this is really the only cover I could provide for them. So the M1IP manages to kill off one of those Concourse right away, and the Jalos are also being spotted. So time to put that Ka-52 to work. And unfortunately this Ka-52 wasn't that accurate with its seed missiles and managed to miss both of those Challenger marksmen. So a bit of a unfair start, or at least unfortunate. But we're going to correct on that later. Now General Incompetence mentioned that he's going to put rocket pods in here. He put that out both versus through the TeamSpeak and using a marker, so that really helped me not to go in there. Not that I had any plans of doing so in the first place, because my units, my infantry, is going to be dead long before they get there. Now, I'm separating my VDVs from the BMDs, and the reason for this is that the BMDs have poor stealth. They are likely to get spotted in here, especially since I saw a couple of recon units here. My VDVs have good stealth, so they are much less likely to get spotted, and I don't necessarily need to use them right now, but I can always use them later on. I'm helping out here a little bit on the side by spotting for general incompetence and Starta. And I think that my Mi-28 is also skirting around the sides, getting ready to deliver a couple of missiles onto these targets. And there were definitely a lot of targets out here. My Ka-52, in case you're wondering, I sent it back home to start rearming on those seed missiles, because we're going to need a lot of those in order to deal with the British AA. So a couple of assault engineers stuck out in the open here. We got chaparrals, we got Challenger marksmen, Centurion marksmen, chaparral, as I mentioned, and that made me question my decision to go helicopters here. You can see that I'm not actually pushing in with the Mi-28 just yet. Not until I've managed to neutralize at least half of this AA, so that the AA that's going to remain is going to be on the move, or might get taken out by some other units. A couple of missiles come in, but that's from the Mi-24W by General Incompetence, and he managed to hit some of these units, but not exactly do a lot of damage to them yet. In the meanwhile, on the water, Boltsauce went full naval in combination with Help Me Help You. He deployed a couple of Jangyus, or actually one Jangyu. Later on we're going to see more of those. There comes another one. And an Udaloy. All of these ships have their anti-ship missiles disabled to make sure they're not going to start firing those off on their own. And he's just building up his forces. On the other side we can see a Kongo, a Donghei, another Kongo and a Hatsuyuki for escort. And here is the rest of their fleet. Another Hatsuyuki, more Pohangs for escorts. So it's going to be pretty difficult to get through that Seawiz net, but the same goes for this fleet. Now, back to my little side of the battlefield. I am using airborne in this situation, and the only reason that I managed to do well, or at least that I don't get completely pushed out of this zone, is because there were two other people with ground forces operating here. You cannot do a 1v1 with a airborne deck, or at least it didn't really work out for me. And by that I mean that you need support from other players. You need guys on the ground, whether it's something with autocannons, whether it's tanks like the Wilk that we have on this flank. You need stuff like that, because without it, your airbornes, your helicopters, your infantry, they're just going to get wiped out. Especially in a terrain like this. So, what I did here, or what I was able to do, was very much thanks to my allies' barcode over here on the left, and sorry, on the right, and general incompetence on the left. Now you may have seen those seed runs. I had two of them come out. There's another one, killed off another 50-point unit, and now we can actually start to come in with helicopters and do some more damage. They still do have some challengers, but I believe that the Ka-52 is back on station. It has two missiles ready to go. So if I can spot some of those AA units, I can shoot them down. In the meanwhile, we're going to see a very, very deadly combination of the Ka-52 spotting and the Mi-28 taking out the targets. It has very high-end anti-GMs in the form of those Attacker Vs, and it killed off a 115-point Challenger right there. Something that I don't really like about these units is that they fire off their rocket pods very, very quickly, and they only carry 10 of those rockets to do it. But with 16 Attacker Vs, which unlike the Apache Longbow are not fired 2 by 2, but one after another, means that you can, if you're lucky, take down 16 tanks or 16 targets. And that's what the Mi-28 is doing. You can see that most of their AA is either on the run or dead. And I think that we may have spotted... Yep, this is probably the Challenger marksmans. So I'm trying to get eyes on them with the Ka-52 and the Mi-28. The Mi-28 will be in range exactly at the same time when the the Challenger marksmans will be. The Ka-52 has range on them. It has a 3.5 kilometer range on that seed missile versus the 2800 meter range on the Challenger Marksman. Something that I wasn't hoping to see though was non-radar guided AA. And this tractor here is, for me, lucky. Or at least for me, this thing missed. And that managed it so that I had just enough time to get the hell out of here. Also because these helicopters were in very, very close proximity. If one missile had hit, they would have probably both taken damage. Now, Mi-28 doing another missile run here. And my Ka-52 gets a little too close as I try to keep eyes on that Abrams. And this was a beautiful shot. This thing is flying somewhat in reverse. I'm going to slow this down so you can see how it's moving. It's moving sideways and back. And as it did that, it managed to score a missile hit on one of those Challenger marksmen, scoring 70 points. So I was really impressed with the helicopter by doing that. Now, time to get these guys rearmed, especially the Mi-28 fired off a lot of its weapons. It does still have the main gun, but against anything other than infantry or light transports, that main gun, the 2A42, which you also find on the Ka-52, is not that good. So instead, I'm working with some more seed planes, not going over this area because the tractor pier cannot be targeted anyway, but coming in over Constantine, trying to get some more radar-guided AA out of the way. And there's just nothing here. So I'm evacing this thing before an interceptor or air superiority fighter shows up. Now, switching back to Boltsaus, you can see that they are flanking this side. This is Help Me Help You with an Udaloy, a Nushka and a Luda. And Boltsaus is holding here with his Udaloy 2 and Zhengyu 3s. They've also deployed some command infantry to make sure that you can hold this zone even as you're not capable of putting ships in here. So that they managed to neutralize Anna that way. There's still a Congo which is sitting out here pretty exposed, but it's not exposed too much because it has quite a lot of these Chamzuri escorts and a Hatsuyuki for defense. I would have put these things a bit closer though. I would have put, for example, this Chamzuri over on that side because over here it's not going to do anything. Now I'm trying to push up a little bit with the VDV, and that's when I make a big mistake because I thought it was pretty clear here. I thought I had a pretty safe run. Turned out that was not exactly the case, as you're going to see here. A lot of these VDVs are going to get killed off right away. And I'm going to switch this to neutral because I didn't catch what was doing that myself. But you can see that this sector is far from empty. They got an Abrams, 2 Challenger Mark 1s, and a whole lot of infantry. And you can see that I lose a Strela right away. And the VDVs have taken fire. They wiped out 17 VDVs in less than 20 seconds. And these VDVs are out in the open, and they're just getting picked off one by one. Or more like 3 by 3 in this game. Another push is coming in from a couple of Abrams, Zippo and an M1A2. And this is the main prize. This is what I want to kill, because this one, for 180 points, is something that you do not want to let loose on the battlefield. Fortunately, my Mi-28s and Ka-52 were done refueling and repairing and rearming. So I'm back with my Attacker Vs doing some damage to these tanks. And there goes the M1IP for 80 points. Now again, this was a very, very lucky missile hit, because the M1A2 was moving towards this forest. That means that the side armor, which is not that good on the M1A2, is exposed. If you have a very high end, and I believe it's a 26 armor penetration weapon, yeah, 25, if that fires into the side of the M1 Abrams, this happens, 180 points. What he could have done there is pulled it back and made sure that its frontal armor was facing my ATGM. That could have saved it temporarily until it could have made it into better cover. Now my ally on the right, Barcode, set up a marker M1A2 and already responded M1A2 dead, so he knows that this area is no longer in need of a seed plane with an ATGM plane in tow, for example. Mi-28's just casually picking off targets. And they were dancing a little bit with both helicopters and the tractor pier. trying to get in range of their targets, their tanks, and he's trying to get in range of my helicopters. And unfortunately he manages to get one. There you go, the KA-52 takes a big hit, loses 5 hit points. And at this point I decide, okay, it's not worth it to send this guy, or to keep this guy on the front line, so I'm sending it back as fast as possible. Because even though it may still have some hit points left, this thing is worth 130 points and I'm not in a mind to lose those. So sending it back. In the meanwhile, on the water, the fleet is moving. They're pushing up very slowly, and that is, as far as I'm concerned, definitely the right way to do it, because if you start to push faster with one ship at a time, you're going to get picked off. Now you can see that Bolt Saws and Help Me Help You are screening their Udaloys with the Jangyus. The Jangyus are also turning sideways, getting ready to fire off those anti-ship missiles, but not firing them yet. They're just turning their ship towards a full broadside, and this is a bit of a weird situation here, because these Udaloys were pushing each other out of the way. So the Jangyus are getting ready to fire. The Jangyus, I believe, have their missile launchers on the sides. You can see them here. This means that they will fire 4 of these missiles in very short succession, so they're going to fire 4 of them in a small salvo. Same for this Jangyu, it's also positioned to fire 4 of those missiles. The Luda, same deal, it fires 6 missiles on rotating tubes, or rotating launchers. You can see that they're also setting up for broadfire, or broadside fire. And the Udaloy has a slightly different setup in these 4 forward, or actually 8 forward firing missile launchers. So the Udaloy has to be facing the target and the Jangyus have to be broadsiding. So let's wait until all the ships are in position. Unfortunately, Help Me Help You had a bit of a miscoordination here with Bolt Saws. But Bolt Saws is quick to jump in, firing off a lot more ATGM or ASMs. And of course they're going for the Congo. And now you can see why you want to have those Chamseries surrounding your Congo and not back there, because they're no good here. And the Congo is taking a couple of big hits, going down to 2 hit points. And that's when the second salvo comes in. Nothing the Congo can do. And there you go. Congo destroyed. That's a nice kill there, and that's one of their main ships that you want to get destroyed. More salvos are coming in, going for Chamseries and whatever other target they can find, and they blow up another one. Another real lead ship here in this fleet is the Hatsuyuki, and the rest is just a couple of escorts. You can see that even some balls from Karo managed to sneak all the way towards this side. These things are pretty fast off-road, 60, but you gotta be patient with them, because off-road they're not the fastest units, and they will take their sweet time getting here. But in the meanwhile, the Udaloys, the Jangyus, the Munas, sorry, not the Munas, the Ludas have killed off another ship, and that's pretty much the end of the Blue 4 fleet so far. So definitely a nice salvo there by Bolt Saws, and Help Me Help You. Now in the meanwhile I brought in a second KA-52, also coming in with more seaplanes and picking off another Challenger marksman. There you go. I may have, yeah, I didn't capture it in the replay, but my, God, what's it called? The attack helicopter that I was just using, sorry, I just completely forgot the name of it. The one with the Attack V missiles got destroyed by, I believe, the Stingers that are hiding in one of these buildings. So that was a pretty damn hard loss for me, because it was my main offensive unit. KA-52s are great attackers as well, but they only attack seeds or attack radar-guided AAs and helicopters, and there were none of those. KA-29 is helping out some of these Picota Zhmek by general incompetence as they're pushing up. And I'm not going to be capable of destroying a tank, but I can soften it up and I can get some of the infantry out of the way, so that's what I'm doing here. Now you can see that Blue 4 is not doing too good. Red 4 has captured a lot of terrain here. Yuto is moving forward here. We got what's that? Starta. And over here they're already very much closing in on Elena. So it's not looking too good for Blue 4, and this seems to be a last stand that they have. MiG-29 snipes off at least one of those challengers, and possibly a second one. Yeah, I think he got both of them. And there's the chieftain that we saw at the beginning of the game. Merida, shaken, manages to take it out. So that's the end of this zone, and since I already had brought in a second command vehicle, the zone is now ours. Challenger tries to get the hell away. Pikota unfortunately don't manage to pick it off, and that's when I get a little bit too aggressive, and I thought that the Stingers were dead. Unfortunately, they were not quite dead, but my helicopter goes down vertically and inverted, so that is the death of one of my Ka-52s. Now, since I don't really need to push over this area, I don't really need to clear out this entire section, we can just scoot around it and go forward. That's exactly what I'm going to do with my Ka-52. I'm also going to be doing seed runs because it was a pretty low income game, and that means that we didn't have that many units, or at least not me, because I do have pretty damn expensive helicopters. So you can see another seed plane coming in, doing some acrobatics here, and I was sending it out in the front line just to get some more points, get some kills. Not many people were operating with aircraft here, but you never know. Fired off a missile, killed off a challenger, or a chieftain. Yeah, it's a chieftain for 60 points. Circling around. But now I had actually expected a response from the Blue 4 Air Force, an interceptor or an air superiority fighter, but nothing showed up. But now something else showed up, and that was not what I was expecting. A couple of Super Cobras with those AIM-9Ms managed to shoot down my seed plane. And you can see it shooting off into the forest right here. Now let's see, the Navy. The Navy has managed to capture this area, or at least neutralize it with their command infantry. And the Blue 4 Navy is definitely running. Interestingly, they are still being spawned in and capturing or retreating towards Boris. I'm not entirely sure why. If you're faced with an overwhelming Navy, the last thing I would do is bring in more ships, because you're just going to provide more targets for this already pretty upvetted Navy, except for this Jiangyu then. But these ships are not to be underestimated. Most, if not all, of the Udaloys have been rearmed, especially those muskets will drain those Munas very quickly. But they are pushing up, and with a couple of these Jiangyu 3s and an Udaloy 2, Boltsaws are going to provide a lot of cover here, both fire support for the shore and destroying some more ships as they show up. Now you can see I'm not really doing that much, I'm just saving up my points. And so far I haven't done that bad. I've scored 1400 points. I did lose quite a bit, in the sense of a couple of those expensive helicopters going down, my VDVs go down, my BMD-3s. So I definitely lost quite a couple of points, but I made sure that the armored decks were not capable of pushing through here. Now, someone put a marker down here, find CV, and I thought, yeah, okay, I can do that with K-52. K-52 has exceptional optics, medium stealth, so I have a reasonable chance of surviving. And there's the CV. It takes it out with a couple of rounds from its autocannon. Neutralized Elena. Get in, get out, and especially get out fast. Because if those Super Cobras have been rearmed with AIM-9Ms, I don't want to see how effective they're going to be against my K-52. Now, this was quite lucky. This Su-24 got hit by at least 2 of those missiles. Let's see, they do 5 HE damage. So I think it got hit. Well, it didn't die, so it should have died to 2 of those missiles. I'm not sure why it didn't go down. I'm not complaining though. But you can see that all of these helicopters fired off 2 missiles, and they only pack 2 missiles. So at this point I could have moved in, but I didn't really realize that they had fired both. I was too busy evacuating that aircraft. And there was a DAP operating in this area, so I did have the K-52, but it didn't have any Iglas left. So I'm pulling it back a little bit. Definitely too far here. It could have easily have hovered over here without being in any kind of trouble. Boltsaws is still pushing up with the Jangyus, and Lafayette fires off a burst of 4 missiles. There you go. Missiles neutralized. Jangyus are just casually sitting there, and now they're turning sideways. Guess what's going to happen? And you can see that Boltsaws really knows how to work these things, but a huge swarm of ASMs comes in. This has to be at least a couple of batteries from the shore. I think he's going to lose at least a bit of health here. Look at that. Not a single ship lost. Some of these ships have been shaken a little bit, but otherwise they're perfectly okay. Jangyus are turning around, trying to get a couple of hits on the Hatsuyukis, but not really managing to do it because their volume of fire isn't big enough. And that's because Boltsaws was maneuvering with these ships at the same time as he was defending against the incoming wave. So you can see that one Jangyu is trying to probably keep these guys spotted, but they are... this one's out of missiles, so it's just positioned here as a frontal unit, probably a picket ship. And you can see that the high amount of sea whiz here is just completely neutralizing whatever missile comes in. So if you have, for example, if you were using the Lafayette and you saw on your left bow a fleet like that, don't even bother turning on those anti-ship missiles because they're never going to penetrate, especially against Jangyus. Because Jangyu 3s have a very good sea whiz, which means they're extremely capable of taking down anti-ship missiles. The only way that you're going to destroy these things is by using main guns or by completely overwhelming them. And overwhelming one Jangyu is doable. Overwhelming 3 of them in a row backed up by an Udaloi is a completely different matter, and you're going to have a very hard time pulling that off. And you can see that they indeed had quite a big battery here. They had 3 Sea Busters, another Sea Buster out there, and possibly some of these Hatsuyukis which also fired off their harpoons. Now, switching back to my view. Yeah, that's the name I was struggling to find. The Mi-28, of course. This is a fresh one. Unfortunately, I lost quite a lot of veterancy as my old helicopter went down. And in the meanwhile, I'm also driving my UAZ up to this sector, to Elena, to make sure we can bring in reinforcements from this side. Which, for me, is especially beneficial, since my helicopters don't need to go all the way around. They can just go over the mountain. And earlier on in the game we had already seen that there was quite a bit of artillery. I'm not sure who spotted it, but you can see some of their... actually, let's just neutral it. Yeah, here they are. 8 203 SPs. These are worth 90 apiece. They weren't exactly firing, because they're too far away from the FOBs, and they have probably received quite a bit of return fire already. So there was not really that much that they could do. Except fire off a couple of rounds a piece, 2 rounds per unit, and then they'd be empty. And that's why they have a huge fleet of Chugato cargoes around. Spotted a CV here. Turned my Mi-28 to deal with that, and there goes another CV. 100 points for me. And you can see that again, this combination is extremely deadly. You do have to micromanage them. You have to make sure they don't run out of ammo, out of fuel. And especially out of health hit points. Also, this is something that I find a bit annoying. There is a Super Cobra. It's on the ground. It is being rearmed. And for some reason, once a helicopter's on the ground, it can still fire. So the last thing that bastard did was fire off a missile that hit my Mi-28 pretty bad, but that's when I think Boltsaws managed to destroy it with a salvo. The same for this DAP. The DAP manages to kill my Mi-28, so I lost another one of those, as it was being rearmed. And fortunately it didn't survive that bombing run. Not my bombing run though, just happy that the thing's down, because it makes my Ka-52 just a bit safer. Now my Ka-52 had fired off both seed missiles and the Iglas, so considering it was also out of hit points and out of fuel, I considered sending it back to base, but it would probably take too long, so we just decided to hold it here, spot the rest of the stuff here, and as soon as there was a little bit less opposition here, I could just land my helicopter. In the meanwhile, Elena has been captured, and you can see a couple of Mi-4s with troop transports and reconnaissance units go forward. Ka-52 pushes up aggressively, trying to get spots on these units, and that's exactly what they're doing. And this allowed Boltsauce, I believe that he's the one who took advantage of it, to turn those guns and to start destroying these artillery units. There's also some Legions, but with napalm launchers they're not going to do a whole lot. You see bombing runs being thrown at these things. And my Ka-52 is just landed right next to a FOB that got captured by general incompetence. It's being rearmed, repaired, and refueled. Meanwhile, Mi-28's coming over the hill, and due to the reconnaissance infantry out here, a lot of this artillery got spotted again. And this is when this is really when I went, oh nom nom nom, let's go get some artillery. I'm not sure I killed off a Chinook there. And this thing is just going to fly into a turkey shoot. That is, if it doesn't fly into the hillside first. You can see firing off rocket pods straight away, firing off an attacker, 90 points. Second missile, second attacker, 90 points. Another 90 with the main gun, another 90 with the second attacker, there you go. So this really racked up my score at the end of the game, just killing off 8 of these 90 point units. I know it's cheap, but it's gonna get you points, and that's definitely something that's very nice at the end of the game, of course. Now, Boltsauce and Help Me Help You had completely cleared out this area. The fact that they hadn't captured it means that there was still command unit in here, and it turned out to be command infantry. But this is always when you start to bring in more reconnaissance units, trying to find where the enemy is, and how you can destroy them as fast as possible. And I was in pretty much the best position to do that, since I had a Ka-52, which is a very quick reconnaissance unit, and an Mi-28 with enough ammo to kill off any command unit that it could find. So the Ka-52 moving in, spotting a command infantry group. Using the main gun, spraying these guys, and they're not exactly going to live long. There you go, another 100 points. And we thought, oh, we got it. And yep, that was when we spotted the Humvee. Bomber comes in, and the bomber didn't get it, but the Commandosi's got it. So, first off, look at Boltsauce. This is what you get when you only go Navy, and you don't lose any points. He lost nothing. So definitely well played to him. I did okay. I got, I believe, the most points in the game, and a decent victory ratio, although you could say it was slightly inflated because of those 8 artillery units that I got. If I hadn't killed those, I'd have only really gotten 1900 points, because that's about the value that I got out of all those kills. Still, I thought it was a great replay to show you guys, because it's the combination of the Ka-52 and the Mi-28, or the Akula if you prefer that one, to do a lot of damage to the enemy. They are very, very dangerous, and with that, if you have solid reconnaissance and some backup from seaplanes, because without the seaplanes I couldn't really do the offensive maneuvers that I did, because the KA runs out of empty radar munitions a lot faster than seaplanes, and seaplanes automatically get repaired and rearmed, of course. And with the support of the ground forces, I managed to pull off a pretty good score with this airborne deck. So, hope you liked watching it. If you did, please hit the like button down below. Be sure to check out Boltsauce's channel. He does cover Wargame every now and then, although I think he's moved on to other games. But check out his channel nonetheless. Thank you for watching, hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.